Hi there. Good afternoon and good morning, depending on where you're tuning in with us from. My name is Andrea Gonzalez with Trellis Strategies, and we are so excited to be hosting this today. I am going to give our attendees about 30 seconds here to file in. So you have tuned in to Collaborating for Change, Innovative Policies to Support Student Wellbeing, and we are co-hosting this with the Coalition for Student Wellbeing. C4SW. A couple of housekeeping things I want to take care of. This is being recorded, and a link to the recording, as well as any presentation documents the speakers would like to share, will be emailed to everyone who registered for this, whether or not they attended. So once we have that all edited and put together, we will email that out. If you have questions throughout the webinar, you are welcome to put them in the chat or the Q&A feature at the bottom, and we will address those as time allows, probably towards the end. Okay, Carson, I will hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I will pop up some slides real quick. Here we go. Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining, and for anybody watching after the fact. My name is Carson Domey. I have the pleasure of serving as the Executive Director of the Coalition for Student Wellbeing. We're super excited for this to be our actual second partnership with Trellis Strategies around some of the education work that we seek to do. We actually got to partner with y'all in August around student financial wellness and the intersection with mental health and well-being. But today we're excited to partner around this webinar titled Collaborating for Change, which is going to spotlight 4 different student-led initiatives from campuses all around the country of innovative solutions to supporting student well-being. Trellis recently came out with a brief around student loneliness that I highly encourage y'all to review on their website, with kind of the largest finding being that 57% of college students have reported experiencing loneliness on a regular basis. And so I think it's an important kind of call that this work is still very much there in terms of mental health and well-being. And so many of the policies that our folks are going to highlight within this webinar do such a great job at hopefully trying to push the ball forward and making an improvement in this space. So for a quick run of show, we're going to be spotlighting 4 different initiatives from 4 different universities. First will be Amanda Hucks, who serves as the student body president at the University of Arkansas, who will be talking about the initiative to add 988 on student ID cards, which I can say is proudly our kind of top initiative at the Coalition for Student Wellbeing right now. We're currently working with about 180 different schools to try to implement this change nationwide in the 35 states that do not yet require it by law. And our goal is to impact hopefully well over 1 million students with that. The next initiative will be presented by Courtney Tax, who serves as the student body president at the University of South Carolina. We'll be talking about their peer mental health Navigator program. Then we'll also have Kaylee Lawler, who's a senior at the College of Holy Cross studying psychology in Worcester, Massachusetts, who's going to talk a little bit about their relationship peer educator program that's deployed throughout the whole college. And then last but not least, we're going to have Chase Darwin from the University of Tennessee talking about their initiative to add a wellness tab on Canvas. And so I'm going to pass it over to Amanda to start.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda. I currently serve as the student body president at the University of Arkansas. It's a joy and an honor. I graduate in 2 months, but we still have some fire in the flames. So this is actually an initiative that happened this spring semester. Carson reached out to me about putting the 988 number onto campus cards. And I'll admit I was pretty ignorant at the time. I thought that we had that number on our student IDs and pulled mine out, and we didn't. We actually had the old number that was still, like, you could still call that number, but the 98 obviously simplifies that and makes it a bit more attainable for students. And so I met with the card office, and honestly, it was a pretty simple conversation. And I think in that way I got lucky, but also, I think Carson and I spoke about this a little bit. It doesn't cost any money. So you're not going to an administrator and saying, hey, can you spend all of this money to reprint student IDs? It's like they're constantly reprinting student IDs. So it's just, hey, can we redesign this? Can we add this number? Can we update this number? And actually, I caught them at a time where, again, I think it was just a perfect timing where they were actually completely readjusting those card numbers. And she was actually going to completely take that number off. And so I really said that I thought this was important for students. We also did our student poll here at the University of Arkansas. And we found that when we asked questions about belonging and wellness, 61% of students found that they belong here at the U of A. But whenever they cited what makes them feel like they don't belong, it was often like social isolation and mental health. And so anything from academic concerns to financial concerns, and these are all things that we know can kind of spiral into being kind of a larger mental health issue. And so again, even if it just saves one life or creates one less mental health emergency on campus, I thought that it was important. So yeah, essentially I walked down to the campus card office in the Union, had that conversation with her, and now in our next batch of student IDs, they will have that updated 988 number. And so yeah, that's essentially what happened. Happy to answer any questions or talk about any impacts or student response on this. So far, students, honestly, a lot of times we're not aware of what the 988 number even was. I know that honestly, before Carson reached out to me, I wasn't super aware. And so I think this is also a great learning moment for students to have that number kind of impressed in the back of their mind. Obviously, very easy to remember, and be able to, even to their friends, kind of speak to what that number is, how it could help them and benefit them in the long term. And so yeah, super exciting. Thankful for the partnership and thankful to talk about it. So happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Thank you so much. And a housekeeping note I forgot to mention is that we would love to do questions actually right after we do each initiative. So if anything pops into anyone's mind as any of us are kind of talking on the initiatives, feel free to drop that in the chat. And then also if something comes up later, I'm sure we'll have some time at the end to address anything and get back to y'all.
Okay, I see two questions. So the 741-741, if I'm correct, would be like the text crisis hotline. I'm pretty sure that you can also, Carson, you may have to correct me on this, text the 988 number. Is that wrong? Or can you also text it?
Sorry, I can't see my mouse. I can't unmute
Oh,
there
you're
or
fine.
see the question. I'm just going to drop the slides for a second. 741-741 is on a lot of the IDs. That should be the crisis text line, but the crisis text line serves as the text provider for 988. So 988 is able to answer any of those questions. You're able to text 988, and that just kind of gets rerouted through crisis text line for like their national backup network if it's not answered by 988 directly.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I think what we did on our student IDs is we had like 9 numbers listed. And so we had so it was kind of just information overload. And so we've kind of simplified that now to include our ridership program, which is like our safe ride here on campus, no questions asked service for students to call if they need a ride, our 988 number, and a local mental health crisis hotline as well. I also see someone asked where I'm from. I'm from Lafayette, Louisiana originally. So I'm from South Louisiana. I'm about an hour from Baton Rouge, but I am a trader and didn't want to go to LSU. So yeah. And I appreciate being here. So, and happy to answer anything else. I think, again, I feel like what's really important to hit on, especially from like a student leader perspective and student leader advocating with admin, is that like getting those initiatives that are super easy and attainable is it is literally like the bread and butter of our job. And then obviously, hopefully makes admin's job easier in the long run. I think that's also something I talked about with Carson was like, if we are actually mitigating the issue of there being mental health issues on campus, then that is kind of saving some of the resources that, maybe your CAPS, your psychological services have to use, or, making sure that students are aware of things outside of just campus, and also kind of maybe taking the pressure off of just campus admin to answer these large questions that are maybe not even campus specific, which mental health is often one of those.
Totally. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all your advocacy efforts, and excited to turn it over to Courtney now to talk about her initiative over at the University of South Carolina.
Well, thank you so much. And I was going to use my presentation, but I think I can kind of talk on it, and I will also send this to y'all so everyone could have an outline of what I'll be talking about. My name is Courtney Tax. I am a senior at the University of South Carolina. I serve as student body president. I'm from Lexington, South Carolina, so decided to go close to home. And I'm very, very excited to be joined by Dr. Brian Lusk. Dr. Lusk is our Executive Director of Mental Health at the University of South Carolina. And with any of these programs, there's a great partnership that occurs between students and administrators. So if you guys have any questions on the administrative side, he is very, very happy to answer any of those questions. So I'll be talking today about our Peer Navigator program, specifically the vibe checks that happen with our peer navigators. So this process has been a lengthy one. And these conversations started happening after a programming event that I put on during my vice presidential term back in October of 2024. We had an event called Coffee and Conversations where we brought counselors out with us, and they were able to speak directly with students and put a survey out as well. During that, we were able to have a lot of key takeaways from our students, including 50% of students didn't know about counseling and psychiatry until the event had occurred. 34% of students wanted to learn how to manage anxiety, and 76% of students wanted interactive mental health events throughout the campus. And I think one of the big advocacy points that we had been pushing was, how do we bridge this gap? And we had a lot of concerns regarding the length of time in which students were able to get in for a mental health appointment. They didn't know where to start. They didn't know that there were people that they could talk to. So that is where the Center of Health and Wellbeing really came in and tried to figure out, how do we go directly to students? So what is a peer navigator? The specific definition that we have created for peer navigators is trained student leaders that offer one-to-one peer listening, drop-in hours, and pop-up support across campus. They provide a welcoming, judgment-free space to talk about stress, struggles, and mental health. And the disclaimer with all of this is that navigators are not counselors or therapists, but empathetic leaders trained to listen, support, and connect you to resources. So this past year, we were able to pilot this in fall of 2025. I had the opportunity to bring this up at SEC Exchange at the University of Texas in Austin, where this was really just a thought. It was an idea. We didn't really know how it was going to go. And then we were able to kind of collect some data. So in the pilot fall 2025, we were able to engage with over 1,600 students. And this was because we didn't have them come to us, we went to them. So the way that this worked is we were out and about on campus 4 days a week for 2 hours each day. And these happened in different locations. So the student union, the library, the wellness and fitness center, which is our gym, and our dining halls. Each time was different. So one day they were there from 12 to 2, another was 3 to 5, another was 2 to 4. So it allowed for a diverse amount of opportunities for students to connect with our peer navigators. And these were drop-in times. And part of it was students would go to them, and other times they would really try to connect with students or reach out to them if they saw them in these locations. But overall, this operated on meeting students where they are. So some of the needs of this program, which Dr. Lusk can also kind of help with if you guys have any questions about that. The first was successful campus partnerships to utilize space. When you are going into other spaces, it's really great to have those connections and bridge those gaps. So we are very happy with our previous relationships with our library, with our student union, with our director of the Wellness and Fitness Center, to be able to go into those spaces and utilize them for the betterment of mental health of our students across campus. The next was student recruitment and training. Because they are so active, being able to recruit students was not a challenge, but definitely an adjustment. And all of these students undergo mental health and crisis management training because they don't know what to expect at any one of these drop-ins. A student could be in crisis mode at that time. Another student could just feel a little stressed and need to be able to talk about it. So all of the students are prepared to handle any given situation, and they are paid as well. But before all of this, they do go through a about 24 to 35 hours of training. So they are well certified to be able to kind of handle all of this. One of the things that I really think this has bridged the gap towards is once students are able to talk to a peer navigator, they're able to really kind of go into the next step of the process. Do they need to speak to a counselor? Do they need additional support on campus elsewhere? Maybe it's not counseling that they need. Maybe it is through our dean of students, or it is talking with an advisor. I think a lot of these stresses are not just mental health based, but they could also be academics based. And how can we give them that support wherever they need? And I'm really proud to say that I just kind of got some data back, and a lot of our students were able to get in between 1 to 2 days on campus, if not within the week. So I think that is a big adjustment. It really helps create partnerships between the Center of Health and Wellbeing and our students on campus, and it shows. Looking ahead, they are now starting to introduce one-on-one virtual appointments where students can go in and make an appointment with our peer navigators. They use this through one of our online campus platforms that is also where students will schedule their advising. So it's right there. They're already using it. So it kind of makes it more accessible. And they've also expanded their drop-in times to 5 days a week. So we have them all across campus at different times. And now we have virtual appointments. So I'm really excited to see the growth of this program, how many students we're able to connect with, and make sure that they're having a quality experience on campus, because that really does all start with mental health. I know that a lot of information was just sent out to student life and the academic realm as well, to make sure that we are reaching students wherever we can, telling them about this program. But that is kind of the bulk of the presentation. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. Brian's on here as well. If you have any questions for him, thank you for your time. And again, let me know if you have any questions.
I think we have a question to start from the chat. Asking, how are you training peer navigators? What does that involve? And how are you making sure that students know the boundaries of their role and when to escalate and how?
Yes, that is definitely a great Brian question. I know that he's been handling this, so I'll let him take that one.
Yeah, that is a great question. So I will say up front, the students went through over a week of training before classes started, and then they get ongoing training throughout the year. So we use the NASPA Peer Educator Framework as a start. Students also get suicide and crisis prevention training, QPR, mental health first aid training, and then they get foundation counseling skills. So really they get like a master's level counseling course, a crash course in that. And again, we continue to hone these in and work on them throughout the year, because you can't just learn all this and feel comfortable in one setting. So it's an ongoing, evolving process. And then we also educate them about how students get access to the counseling center, the various avenues, but also, as Courtney was talking about, the various other things on campus that can support them. So the Student Success Center, the Dean of Students, the Center for Student Advocacy, all the things. They're aware of all the resources. And we also have a graduate assistant who supervises these students directly and is on site with them to help support. And then we have a professional staff member here in the office who's readily available if something happens and the GA cannot handle, or they have questions or things of that nature. Hopefully that helped answer the question.
We have another one here asking, what is the utilization of the services for your peer navigators on your campus?
I believe this past year we had about 1,600 interactions between our peer navigators and our students. And there is going to be more consistent tracking in this upcoming year, now that we have the pilot all sorted out, about how many of those lead directly to counseling appointments or direct consultations elsewhere on campus. So the data that we're getting should be more streamlined, a little bit more specific in the upcoming year. But I think everyone knows how pilots go. You kind of see how it goes, see what changes need to be made. And I would be happy to provide any information in the upcoming semester too, after we get that back.
Awesome. Another question here asking, do you have case support / consultation with peer navigators where you talk them out on your hard cases and support each other through them?
Yeah, they meet weekly. They're scheduled to meet with our pro staff weekly, and they process through things. They role play situations that happen in real life, and then just hypothetical situations. So again, it's a constant ongoing evolution of training. And again, we can never prepare our students or anyone for all the things they're going to run into, but we do our best by providing them ongoing, consistent training.
That's great. And last question here. asks, do you use any sort of assessment?
Not in these set, because we want them to be we don't want them to be intimidating at this point. We want to invite students in and be warm. And when you start bringing assessments into these spaces, it gets complicated for the student doing it, but also the student receiving it. So we just want it to be a warm invite into having conversations about mental health and well-being. So no, I don't foresee us doing that anytime in the future.
And actually just got another question that says, that is a lot of work, which I bet, and thank you, Brian, for all the leadership that you're doing there. Do you have a role dedicated just to that and funding?
Yes. We one of our associate directors of our outreach team, her entire role is peer education and training. So that's all she does. And then she, like I said, she has a GA under her who provides the direct on-site supervision during the event. And then she's readily available, the associate director here on campus, should something happen. And they need to reach out to her.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think that's all the questions. Really appreciate both of you taking the time and all the hard work and effort.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Awesome. Now we're going to pass it off to Kaylee Lawler to talk about the Relationship Peer Educator.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk about the Relationship Peer Education program at Holy Cross. So we work directly under the Office of Title IX. For those who may not be aware, the Office of Title IX is the college campus's office that handles sex-based discrimination, harassment, sexual misconduct, and other interpersonal issues that may occur. And this office coordinates many supportive measures and prevention programs for students, one of those being relationship peer educators. So our program was born with one question. So how do we move from a reactive compliance-based Title IX system to a proactive and a culturally responsive one? And relationship peer educators, we are students. So we are overseen through the administrator's office, and it is a student-led prevention and support initiative focused on teaching and supporting students on misconduct, interpersonal violence, healthy relationships, bystander intervention. So one of the main reasons why this program began in the first place is because students tend to go to other students for their problems. And many students don't understand how Title IX works. They hear that word, they get really overwhelmed. Conversations about consent can also happen too late or not at all. And obviously, while faculty and administration care deeply about students, they might not have the same social access that students have with each other. And statistics show that students are more likely to disclose forms of sexual violence or mental health struggles with their peers and with other students than they are with administrators. So we do a lot of different work, especially a lot of early intervention type of work. So we will work specifically when every freshman comes in on campus within the first week. They go through what RPs call bystander intervention program training. This teaches students how to work proactively. We give them different scenarios where this might happen off campus, and is this a form of proper behavior? Is this someone who's actually giving consent? How can you step in while still keeping yourself safe? Because these are scenarios that happen every day. And so we're also a huge presence on campus. We just finished Sexual Respect Week. This is a week where the RPEs do different initiatives on campus. One of them, which I'm a huge fan of, is called Dialogue Dinners. We work with other organizations on campus, other student-led organizations on campus, and we invited people to dinner. And the topic was, how does popular culture and media shape our understanding of sexual health, consent, and relationships? So really sparking those and initiating those conversations amongst students. And I believe that this has a really strong connection to mental health. So one of the most powerful insights we've gained is how deeply sexual misconduct prevention is tied to mental health. So survivors of sexual assault and other forms of violence have lasting effects: PTSD, anxiety, academic decline, isolation. So prevention isn't just stopping misconduct, it's about protecting mental well-being. And relationship peer educators, as students, we are that intersection for students to feel comfortable and to have someone to talk to. We're not therapists, but we are people who can navigate you to the Office of Title IX. So if there's a student who can come to me as a private resource and say, hey, something happened, who do I go to? And I can direct them and give them the contact information, as well as doing those initiatives around campus. So let me know if you have any questions about specific programming, and if there's anything else that you guys want me to touch upon more. It's a very broad program, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
Awesome. We'll just give it a second to see if we get any here. All right. I think we're good. And if we happen to get one during Chase's presentation, we can always come back to it. Well, thank you, Kaylee. Appreciate it. And excited to turn it over to Chase Darwin now from the University of Tennessee to talk a little bit about their initiative to add a well-being tab to Canvas.
Hey, everyone. Just want to thank you all for being here. Really excited to chat with you all just a little bit. Love to have conversations about everything mental health. So to introduce myself, my name is Chase Darwin. I am our student body president here at the University of Tennessee. And to get into a little bit of our topic today, I'll talk a little bit about kind of our focuses as I got into this role and as our administration got into this role. So when we first got into office, one of our main priorities was to focus on student well-being and wellness, and the big question really of how do we erase the stigma behind getting help. Carson, I remember when you presented to us at Texas, you really talked about the importance of just taking that first step. So we got with the cabinet and we really tried to focus on how do we throw these resources in front of students? How do we get students to use these resources? The University of Tennessee and really every school offers an abundance of these wellness resources, but we realized that a lot of students weren't necessarily aware of them. So we got to talking, got to the drawing board, and asked the simple question of how do we really, for lack of better words, throw these resources in our students' faces, whether they use them or not. And so we really brainstormed a bunch of ideas. And one thing we realized is that most every student spends the majority of their time every day on Canvas, which is our learning platform that all the 40,000 students use here on campus. We looked at Canvas and there was nothing really specifically tied to anything university-wise, wellness, student life, really anything besides everything academics. So we asked the question about how feasible it would be to get a wellness tab that every student will see right when they open their Canvas at the start of their day, the end of their day. And in this wellness tab, we would streamline pretty much every mental health or any wellness resource that we have here at UT. So the first conversation we had, I think I saw her in the chat, was our UT Systems GOAT, Dr. Jessie Gold, who's the head of wellness, the chief wellness officer. I think it's the coolest position title ever here at the UT System, covering all the UT schools. We got with her and talked about, is this something you think would be feasible? What do you think? Would you support this? And of course, knowing Dr. Jessie Gold, she was 100% in. We then got connected with Dr. Jill Zambito, who is the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Wellness and Wellbeing here at UT Knoxville. And so Dr. Zambito and I had a lot of conversations about, what do we want this to look like? How possible is it to get this really right where students see it on the tab page of our Canvas? This was our option A. Like I said, we had option B and C that were not really the results that we wanted, but we had a whole proposal lined up, and we went into a meeting with our heads of Canvas, our Dan Harder, who was the head of OIT here, and just some other OIT folks. And we pitched them this idea of, this is what we think would be substantial to be able to really utilize our mental health resources and really the abundance of all of them that we have here on campus. So we figured that in the best case scenario, they really like the idea. They can workshop something, go through all their comms teams, and we can have something maybe in a few months. What I was delighted by was that the folks over at OIT and really everyone at Tennessee that we brought this idea up to was really excited about it. And what was one of the biggest wins at the start of our year was after we wrapped up this meeting, the Canvas folks and our OIT department said, hey, we love this idea. This is a really great idea. And we want to, we're going to have you a draft by the end of the week. We were really shocked. Dr. Zambito and I were really jumping for joy. And so they had that draft ready for us by the end of the week. And within 2 weeks, it was live on Canvas. And I can say now that it's been up and going for a few months. The click rate and the amount of times these resources have been used has increased, and I cannot wait to see the exact numbers and the increase of those resources being used. What I will say, what I'm really enjoying seeing as well is that other schools across the SEC or even Clemson and UNC emailed me and our team earlier this week about they're going to add the same thing to their Canvas. This is an option that is really easy for a school to add. It's really easy to show that, mental health, just student wellness isn't just a student life priority. This is a priority of all of our institutions. So I'll say the most rewarding part is really being able to hear from other schools saying, what did this process look like? How did you all go about this? And it's a pretty simple task. So as we continue to collaborate on all of these great mental wellness resources, I really enjoy having these conversations, being able to listen to y'all at these kind of webinars because, we all experience these same things. So that kind of wraps up what I've got for you guys. If you guys have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it a ton. We'll see if we get any questions here. Yeah, so grateful for all the work that y'all have done on this. Actually, I was just talking to somebody at the University of Michigan system who was mentioning it. I think they've already implemented it. It's similar to the 98 on student ID, such a cost-effective way to really highlight resources and drive students there. And Dr. Gold, we're so glad to have you. All right. Well, seeing no questions, appreciate everybody so much for taking the time. I'm glad that we're able to do this, and also thankful for the people watching this after the fact. I'm glad, really like the style of this where hopefully people enjoy keeping it fresh with all different student perspectives and also on a pretty good timetable. I like that we fit this into 35 minutes here. So it'll be much easier for people to watch after the fact. But so grateful to Amanda, Kaylee, Courtney, Chase, and the entire Trellis team, Andrea and Brian, for making this idea a reality. Really excited to collaborate more with Trellis in the future around this to help elevate student voices and student policies that are being implemented all over the country to help support and improve student well-being. And with that, thank you so much for joining us. Have a good day.